You may feel confused right now. Life looks normal on the outside, but something feels wrong inside. You pray and wait, yet nothing changes. This inner tension is often the first spiritual signal that something needs to shift. Many people ignore this feeling because it is uncomfortable. They call it stress or exhaustion. But spiritual discomfort has a different weight. It stays even after rest. It follows you into prayer and silence. God often begins guidance with restlessness. Not panic, not fear, a quiet sense that you no longer belong where you are. This feeling is meant to awaken awareness, not create anxiety. When this happens, it is not weakness. It is spiritual sensitivity growing. God is preparing your heart to hear truth clearly. The discomfort is the invitation. God does not always speak through loud signs. Most of the time, he speaks through inner resistance. You feel yourself pulling back emotionally. What once felt easy now feels heavy. This resistance shows up slowly. You hesitate before decisions. You lose excitement. You feel pressure without explanation. These are not random emotions. Spiritual resistance often appears when alignment is breaking. Your spirit recognizes danger before your mind does. God places that resistance as protection. Ignoring it makes life harder. Listening to it brings clarity. This resistance is not confusion. It is guidance forming quietly. Walking away is often misunderstood. Many people see it as quitting, but spiritually, walking away can be obedience. God removes people and places to save you from future harm. Protection does not always feel good at first. Loss can feel painful. Change can feel like failure. But God's removals always have purpose. What God ends early prevents deeper wounds later. He sees outcomes you cannot. He knows what staying would cost your peace and faith. Walking away under God's direction is not defeat. It is divine prevention. It keeps your future intact. Fear keeps many people stuck. They fear loss more than damage. They fear change more than pain. This fear silences God's voice. Staying too long creates emotional scars. The longer you delay obedience, the heavier the burden becomes. God's warning signs grow stronger over time. When God speaks, delay is dangerous. Obedience requires courage. Fear asks you to stay comfortable, even when comfort is destructive. God never rushes, but he does warn. When fear becomes the reason you stay, it is already time to leave. Peace is one of God's strongest signals. When peace leaves, something is wrong. You may smile, but inside you feel unsettled. This loss of peace is intentional. God removes peace before he removes people or situations. Peace is the internal alarm system. When it disappears, alignment has shifted. Many people pray for clarity while ignoring lost peace. But peace itself is clarity. It tells you when something no longer belongs in your life. If peace is gone and never returns, God is speaking clearly. He is telling you to prepare your heart to walk away. When God is warning you, energy begins to disappear. Tasks that once felt easy now drain you completely. Even small efforts feel heavy. This constant exhaustion is not just physical. Spiritual fatigue appears. When you are investing in something God is pulling you away from, your soul resists what your routine is trying to maintain. This creates inner burnout. Rest does not fix this tiredness. Sleep helps the body, but not the spirit. You wake up tired because your spirit feels misaligned. God allows this drain to show you the cost of staying. He reveals how much strength is being wasted. This loss of energy is a signal to move. God never brings confusion into your life. Confusion grows when something is no longer aligned with his plan. You start questioning everything. Nothing feels clear anymore. This mental fog appears slowly. You overthink simple choices. You feel unsure about decisions you once made confidently. Your direction feels blurred. Spiritual confusion is a warning sign. It shows you are standing where clarity cannot exist. God's guidance always brings peace and focus. When confusion increases, it means God is calling you out of that place. Clarity will return once you step away. Inner conflict is one of the strongest spiritual signals. You argue with yourself daily. One part of you wants to leave. Another part clings to familiarity. This struggle creates emotional tension. You feel pulled in opposite directions. Your heart knows the truth, but fear delays action. God allows this conflict to expose what no longer fits. When His will and your comfort collide, discomfort grows louder. The battle inside you is not weakness. It is awareness rising. God is pushing you toward honesty with yourself. Discomfort is often misunderstood as something negative. In reality, God uses discomfort as a tool for movement. Comfort can keep you stuck in the wrong place. When discomfort increases, it is not punishment. It is pressure meant to produce obedience. God uses pressure to bring growth. Remaining comfortable may feel safe, but it delays destiny. Discomfort signals that it is time to shift direction. God's discomfort always has purpose. It pushes you forward when comfort would keep you trapped. When peace disappears, clarity begins forming underneath. God removes peace first to alert your spirit. This is not abandonment, it is guidance. Peace leaves quietly. You feel unsettled even when things look fine. You sense something is off but cannot explain why. This lack of peace grows stronger when you ignore it. The more you stay, the louder the discomfort becomes. God does this to protect you. Once you accept the need to leave, peace slowly returns. This confirms that God is directing your steps. God often speaks through repetition. You begin hearing the same message from different places. Conversations, thoughts, and quiet moments all point to the same truth. This repetition is intentional. You may hear similar advice from people who do not know each other. Words align without planning. The message lands softly but repeatedly. God uses patterns to get attention. This repetition removes doubt. God knows humans second-guess themselves. Repeated signals confirm direction and reduce confusion. When the same message returns again and again, it is not coincidence. God is confirming what He already whispered to your heart. Some lessons refuse to leave until they are learned. You may try to move forward, but the same issue keeps resurfacing. This is not delay. It is instruction. God allows cycles to repeat when obedience is incomplete. The problem stays because the decision has not been made. Growth waits for action. Avoidance creates repetition. Each time the lesson returns, it feels heavier. God increases pressure to bring clarity. When you finally respond, the cycle ends. Walking away breaks what staying could never fix. Conviction feels different from condemnation. Conviction guides with clarity. Condemnation shames and destroys. God's voice never humiliates you. When conviction comes, it feels firm but loving. You feel urged, not attacked. Truth becomes clear without fear. Condemnation pushes you into guilt. Conviction pulls you toward change. God always corrects with purpose. If the message you feel is guiding you toward freedom, it is from God. He convicts to restore, not to punish. Urgency begins to rise when time is running out. You feel a pressure to choose. Waiting feels unsafe. Delaying feels costly. This urgency is not panic. It is awareness. God shows you the danger of staying longer than necessary. When urgency appears, excuses disappear. What once justified staying no longer feels valid. Truth stands exposed. God does not rush you, but He does warn you. Urgency means the moment for decision has arrived. Slowly, God removes every excuse you once used to stay. One by one, they lose meaning. What protected your comfort no longer makes sense. You begin seeing flaws clearly. The situation no longer hides behind hope or denial. Reality becomes impossible to ignore. God removes excuses to free you. He strips away illusions, so obedience becomes easier than resistance. When excuses are gone, clarity remains. God prepares you to walk away without regret. Loss of alignment happens quietly. You notice your values shifting away from the situation you are in. What once felt acceptable now feels wrong. Your heart no longer agrees with your surroundings. This inner misalignment creates tension. You feel like you are betraying yourself just to stay. Your spirit resists compromises that your mind tries to justify. God uses misalignment to protect your integrity. He does not want you shrinking your standards to survive. Your values matter to Him. When alignment is lost, peace cannot remain. God allows this discomfort to show you that staying will cost your identity. When God is calling you out, you begin to shrink. You stop expressing yourself fully. You hold back thoughts, emotions, and dreams. This shrinking is a survival response. You adapt to avoid conflict. You stay quiet to keep stability. But this silence slowly damages you. God never asks you to disappear to maintain peace. He created you to grow, not to fade. Shrinking is a sign something is wrong. If staying requires you to become smaller, God is calling you to walk away. Freedom never demands silence. Remaining in the wrong place slowly steals your identity. You forget who you were before you started compromising. Your confidence weakens over time. You begin to shape yourself around expectations that do not fit you. This creates inner frustration. Your true self feels buried. God values who you are becoming, not what you are preserving. He protects your calling, not your comfort. Walking away restores your identity. Staying only delays your healing and growth. Spiritual distance grows when God is removing you from something. Prayer feels forced. Worship feels heavy. Connection feels blocked. This distance is not rejection. It is redirection. God allows separation to alert you. You try harder, but the emptiness remains. The problem is not effort. It is location. When you step away, connection returns. God restores closeness once alignment is restored. God often separates before He elevates. Isolation is preparation, not punishment. Time alone strengthens clarity. Separation removes distractions. It clears noise. It allows you to hear God clearly again. Many breakthroughs begin with separation. God builds strength privately before public reward. Walking away may feel lonely at first, but it positions you for growth. You could not receive by staying. Divine interruption often comes suddenly. Plans you trusted collapse without warning. Opportunities close unexpectedly. This can feel confusing or even frustrating. God allows interruptions to redirect your path. What seems like a setback may actually be a redirection. He is steering you toward what is better for your life. Resistance rises when you fight against this interruption. The more you try to force progress, the more obstacles appear. God uses these barriers to guide your obedience. Pay attention to patterns of interruption. When doors repeatedly close, it is not coincidence. God is showing you the right path, even if it is not the one you expected. What once flowed effortlessly now feels blocked. Every effort requires more energy than before. Tasks that were simple feel impossible. This shift is a spiritual signal. God does not want you to struggle unnecessarily. When your efforts are consistently frustrated, it is often His way of saying stop, reassess, walk away. Forcing progress in these moments only increases stress and confusion. God uses resistance to protect you from situations that can harm your peace and future. When the flow returns after stepping away, you realize the struggle was not a test of willpower. It was a lesson in obedience and trust. Delays are not always obstacles. Sometimes they are divine protection. God may block a path that seems important to prevent future harm. What appears as frustration may actually be mercy. You may feel impatient or question why life is moving slowly. This is natural, but these delays have a purpose, even if you do not understand immediately. God's timing is perfect. His interventions ensure that you do not settle for less than what He has planned. Every closed door is intentional guidance. When you recognize divine protection in delays, peace replaces frustration. You trust God more, knowing He is orchestrating every step toward your benefit. Fighting what God is ending causes exhaustion. You feel drained mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Every attempt to maintain control feels heavier than before. This exhaustion is a signal. God wants you to notice that staying is costing more than leaving. Your energy is being misused in areas He has already marked for closure. Rest alone does not fix this. True restoration comes when you respond to God's leading and consider stepping away. When you finally listen, energy returns, peace grows, and clarity emerges. Exhaustion becomes a messenger guiding you to obedience. God disrupts comfort zones for your growth. Comfort can keep you trapped in the wrong place. When life feels shaken, it is often a sign that change is necessary. Disruption feels uncomfortable at first. You may resist it, fearing loss or failure. But God's disruptions always point towards spiritual alignment and purpose. This disturbance is preparation. It strengthens faith and encourages obedience. Growth is rarely possible without leaving familiarity behind. Those who respond to disruption with courage find new opportunities, restored peace, and spiritual clarity. Walking away positions you for what God has next. Sudden clarity is a powerful sign from God. After confusion and resistance, truth can hit you like a wave. The fog lifts, and you see the situation for what it truly is. This clarity often comes unexpectedly. You may realize in a single moment that staying is harmful. Your heart and mind align instantly with God's purpose. When clarity arrives, fear does not disappear entirely, but faith becomes stronger. You understand that leaving is not loss, but protection. God gives this gift to confirm His guidance. The path is clear, and obedience becomes easy because the Spirit has removed doubt. You stop asking what if and start asking, why am I still here? Your perspective shifts dramatically. You see the situation's reality without illusions. This shift changes priorities. You begin valuing peace, growth, and alignment over familiarity and comfort. What once felt necessary now seems optional. God uses perspective to strengthen your decision-making. The heart becomes the compass, and fear loses its power over choice. When this mental clarity settles, leaving feels inevitable. God has prepared your mind to embrace change without regret. Fear may still linger, but clarity becomes louder than doubt. You recognize that staying no longer serves your spiritual journey. Courage begins to outweigh hesitation. Faith rises above uncertainty. You feel internally ready, even if circumstances are unclear. God equips you to take steps that align with His plan. This readiness is spiritual preparation. God builds confidence and conviction from within so that leaving does not feel like abandonment. Once you act on this clarity, peace returns. You understand that obedience, even when difficult, is always rewarded with freedom and direction. Walking away is painful but right. Staying feels familiar, but the heart knows it is wrong. God often asks us to choose obedience over comfort. Pain is temporary. It is the cost of stepping into a life aligned with God's will. The longer you remain in disobedience, the heavier the weight becomes. God's guidance always favors growth and protection. He sees consequences that are invisible to your eyes. Embracing the pain of leaving opens doors to healing, peace, and spiritual advancement. The heart adjusts, and freedom follows. Obedience often hurts at first, but disobedience hurts longer. God allows initial discomfort to prevent long-term suffering. The temporary pain is part of the process. When you resist God's direction, life becomes more complicated. Challenges multiply and clarity is clouded. Staying in the wrong place drains energy, faith, and hope. God sees what you cannot. He understands the spiritual and emotional consequences before they happen. His guidance is protection, not punishment. Trusting God's direction allows relief to arrive sooner. Walking away, though hard, becomes the first step toward restoration and a future aligned with His plan. When God calls you to walk away, doubts rise immediately. You question your choice and wonder if you are overreacting. This is natural, but it's a test of spiritual clarity. The more you reflect, the more your heart whispers the truth. Your spirit recognizes what the mind hesitates to accept. God speaks through that inner voice. Trust is strengthened when you listen, despite fear. Even small acts of obedience reaffirm faith. Each step away builds confidence in His direction. Eventually, doubt fades. The heart begins to rest in God's plan, understanding that leaving is not abandonment but divine protection. Signs appear repeatedly when God wants you to move. You notice patterns in conversations, events, or emotions. Repetition is His method to ensure the message is received. Ignoring these signs creates stress and confusion. Your life feels heavy because spiritual alignment is missing. God repeats messages to prevent long-term pain. When you pay attention, clarity grows naturally. The repeated signals become undeniable. You see the necessity of leaving without question. God's confirmation through repetition gives courage to take action. You feel guided and protected as you move away from what no longer serves your destiny. Resistance inside grows stronger when it's time to leave. Your mind may argue to stay, but your soul pushes for change. This tension is deliberate. God uses this inner struggle to clarify choice. The more you wrestle with staying, the more obvious the need to move becomes. Spiritual discomfort sharpens discernment. Ignoring resistance prolongs the pain. Your energy, peace, and joy are consumed by a situation that has already lost alignment with your calling. When you finally obey, tension dissolves. The struggle becomes a marker of readiness, signaling that God's guidance is trustworthy and protective. Loss of passion is another key indicator. What once inspired you now feels empty. Motivation disappears despite effort. This emptiness signals misalignment. God allows passion to fade to redirect focus. When a path no longer matches your purpose, enthusiasm naturally diminishes. It's a subtle but unmistakable cue. The fading of joy is not a sign of weakness. It is a signal that your heart is no longer thriving where you are. God intends for you to step into a space that reignites purpose. Recognizing this loss helps you act decisively. Walking away restores passion and spiritual energy, allowing God's plan to unfold naturally. Fear of change often dominates when God asks you to move. Leaving feels risky, even when staying feels worse. God understands your hesitation. Courage is developed through small steps. God strengthens you internally before He leads you externally. Faith grows when you trust unseen outcomes. Resistance may intensify as fear rises. Your mind highlights what you'll miss, but your spirit knows what you'll gain. God uses fear to test obedience. Stepping forward despite fear opens doors to freedom. Peace and clarity increase as you follow God's direction, confirming the wisdom of walking away. God often sends subtle warnings before the final call to leave. You may feel discomfort in situations that once felt safe. The unease is persistent, following you into quiet moments and prayers. This is His way of nudging you to pay attention. Ignoring these signs seems easier at first. You convince yourself that the discomfort will pass. But the longer you stay, the heavier the burden becomes. Your peace diminishes slowly, almost unnoticed. Spiritual awareness sharpens when you begin to notice repeated signs. Conversations, feelings, and thoughts point consistently to the same truth. It's time to let go. God's voice works quietly but persistently. Listening and acting upon these subtle warnings is crucial. Each ignored signal delays freedom and spiritual growth. Walking away restores your energy and aligns your heart with God's perfect plan. God removes distractions to reveal your true path. When you are being called to leave, what once seemed appealing begins to feel hollow. Relationships, tasks, or environments no longer bring satisfaction. This loss of attraction is not punishment. It is redirection. God removes what no longer fits so you can step into what He has prepared. The heart starts craving alignment over comfort. Ignoring the emptiness prolongs struggle. You may try to force joy, but it cannot return while misalignment exists. God's intervention is protective, not arbitrary. Recognizing this change allows you to act with clarity. Walking away becomes a choice to embrace purpose and restore spiritual and emotional fulfillment. God often uses repetitive obstacles to communicate. The same problems appear over and over, despite your efforts. These repeated challenges are not coincidences. They are guidance. When you persist without listening, frustration grows. Your energy is drained and your confidence shaken. God wants you to notice that staying is draining more than it is giving. Every repeated obstacle is a chance to realign. God is signaling that your current direction will not lead to growth or blessing. Obstacles serve as protective gates. Responding to repeated challenges by stepping away allows progress. Freedom emerges and you begin to see how God's plan was orchestrating every step to preserve your future. A loss of joy is a critical sign. You may continue daily routines, but enthusiasm fades. Activities and people that once uplifted you now feel exhausting or meaningless. God allows joy to fade when the situation no longer aligns with His plan. Emotional depletion is not weakness, it's a signal. Your heart senses the misalignment before your mind can define it. This fading can feel subtle. You may attribute it to stress or circumstance, but your inner guidance knows the truth. Change is required for spiritual and emotional restoration. When you respond to this loss by stepping away, joy returns naturally. God restores energy, clarity, and purpose, confirming that obedience brings blessing, not loss. Feeling spiritually disconnected is another strong indicator. Prayer feels empty. Meditation is difficult. And spiritual practices no longer bring peace. This disconnect signals misalignment. God allows disconnection to push you toward clarity. When staying in a situation prevents growth, the Spirit withdraws intimacy to encourage movement. Trying to force connection while remaining in the wrong place only creates frustration. Your energy and peace are consumed unnecessarily. God's silence is purposeful and protective. Responding by leaving restores spiritual connection. Peace returns, guidance becomes clearer, and your heart rejoices in alignment with God's plan. God often shows you the cost of staying. You notice sacrifices piling up, energy spent, time wasted, relationships strained. Remaining in the wrong place comes with hidden tolls. These costs can be subtle at first, like small frustrations or lost motivation. Over time, they become unmistakable signs that something must change. God allows you to see the cost to awaken your awareness. Awareness without action prolongs pain. Recognition is only effective when coupled with obedience. When you act and walk away, the burden is lifted. God restores balance, energy, and focus, making space for growth and alignment. Physical symptoms often accompany spiritual warnings. Sleep disturbances, persistent fatigue, or unusual tension can appear when God is calling you to leave. These manifestations are not purely physical. Your spirit is signaling misalignment, and your body reflects it. Ignoring these signs prolongs discomfort. God uses physical and emotional signals to communicate. Restless nights, unusual anxiety, or drained energy can indicate a need to change direction. Responding by stepping away restores equilibrium. Peace returns to both mind and body, affirming that God's call is protective and purposeful. Intuition becomes sharper when God is guiding you to leave. You feel a quiet certainty that something is not right. Your instincts alert you before logic can explain the danger. Ignoring intuition often leads to regret. Rationalization tries to justify staying, but the heart knows the truth. God designed intuition as a compass. Spiritual sensitivity grows as you listen. Small nudges, gut feelings, or sudden insights are divine prompts. Recognizing them prevents long-term mistakes. Walking away strengthens your intuition. You gain confidence in discerning God's will. And decision-making aligns naturally with divine purpose. God may reveal hidden motives that keep you stuck. You notice patterns of control, fear, or dependency within yourself or others. These realizations are not accidental. Acknowledging hidden motives can be uncomfortable. They expose the true reasons behind attachment and resistance. God allows this awareness to provoke action. When motives are revealed, staying becomes less appealing. The Spirit highlights why your soul cannot thrive in this place. God calls for transparency and alignment. Walking away becomes liberation. Freedom follows awareness, and your choices reflect purpose rather than fear or habit. Repetition of discomfort is another signal. Small irritations or persistent annoyances appear again and again, creating stress that cannot be ignored. God uses repeated discomfort to awaken awareness. It forces reflection on what is truly beneficial for your life. Comfort has been lost for a reason. Ignoring repeated signals allows toxicity to deepen. Each day spent resisting increases spiritual, emotional, and mental strain. Responding by leaving creates space for peace. God replaces persistent discomfort with calm and restoration, confirming His guidance. Sudden doors closing can signal divine intervention. Plans or opportunities may unexpectedly fall apart, leaving you frustrated. This is often protection in disguise. God closes doors to prevent harm or misalignment. What seems like failure is actually a redirection toward better opportunities. Resistance intensifies when doors close. You may push harder to regain control, but God's timing ensures alignment with your purpose. Accepting closures and walking away creates momentum for new beginnings. Trusting the process brings peace and spiritual clarity. You may feel restless without knowing why. A constant urge to move, change, or leave emerges. This inner restlessness is a divine signal. God uses restlessness to push you toward obedience. Comfort can trap you, while restlessness motivates growth and realignment. Ignoring restlessness prolongs dissatisfaction. The more you resist movement, the heavier the burden on your spirit. Responding to restlessness by leaving restores focus, energy, and peace. God's timing ensures your steps lead to purpose and blessing. Emotional numbness is a subtle indicator. Things that once brought joy or connection now feel distant or meaningless. This disconnection is intentional. God allows emotional detachment to signal misalignment. Your soul recognizes that the current path is unproductive or harmful. Avoiding the feeling only deepens emptiness. Spiritual awareness grows when you acknowledge what your heart is telling you. Walking away restores emotional vitality. Joy, enthusiasm, and engagement return, confirming obedience to divine guidance. Persistent conflict often signals God's guidance. You may find yourself in repeated arguments or tension. Situations that once felt harmonious now feel strained. Conflict highlights misalignment. God allows this to show where boundaries, values, or purpose are compromised. Ignoring repeated conflict leads to frustration and stagnation. The more you fight, the more clarity becomes necessary. Walking away diffuses tension and restores alignment. God rewards obedience with peace, restored relationships, and spiritual clarity. Dreams and visions can communicate God's direction. You may notice recurring dreams or insights pointing toward change. These are spiritual nudges. God often plants guidance in subconscious awareness. Dreams, sudden insights, or intuitive thoughts become reminders of His call. Ignoring these spiritual prompts increases internal tension. Awareness without action prolongs spiritual discomfort. Acting on God's messages through leaving creates alignment. Peace, clarity, and purpose flow naturally when you obey divine guidance. God often uses silence to communicate. You may feel a spiritual quiet, as if guidance has paused. This stillness is not absence. It is preparation. During silence, your heart begins to sense truth without distraction. The noise of life fades, allowing God's subtle direction to emerge. Your intuition becomes sharper. Ignoring this silence can lead to confusion. God's quiet moments are opportunities to reflect, assess, and prepare for the next step. They are a call to spiritual attentiveness. When you respond by leaving the situation that no longer aligns, peace returns. God's guidance becomes evident, confirming that obedience brings freedom. Unhealthy attachments create invisible chains. You may cling to people, places, or routines that no longer serve you. God allows these attachments to surface so they can be released. Recognizing these attachments can be painful. You notice how they hold back growth or compromise your values. This awareness is the first step toward liberation. God exposes what binds your spirit to prompt action. Staying in unhealthy attachments leads to spiritual exhaustion and delayed progress. Walking away breaks the chains and restores freedom. Obedience brings renewal, clarity, and alignment with God's intended purpose. Feelings of misalignment often manifest in physical tension. Your body may feel restless, tired, or burdened. These symptoms reflect spiritual misdirection. God allows your body to echo the dissonance in your life. Emotional and spiritual misalignment often precede physical strain. This is His warning system. Ignoring these signs intensifies discomfort. Energy is wasted on resisting the inevitable call to move. Spiritual guidance becomes harder to hear. Responding by walking away restores harmony. Your body, mind, and spirit regain balance, confirming that leaving aligns you with God's plan. When repeated opportunities to leave appear, God is speaking clearly. You may encounter doors, invitations, or advice pointing toward change. Each encounter serves as confirmation. God uses repetition to ensure His guidance is understood. Patterns emerge that you can no longer ignore. Resisting repeated prompts creates internal conflict. Delay prolongs confusion and anxiety. God's call is consistent, aiming to protect and redirect you. Choosing to obey restores peace and clarity. Walking away aligns your actions with God's timing and opens the way for spiritual and emotional restoration. Internal pressure intensifies as the call to leave grows stronger. You may feel a persistent pull in your heart or a weight on your spirit. God uses this pressure to clarify direction. The tension is purposeful, highlighting the necessity of action. It is not meant to overwhelm, but to awaken discernment. Ignoring the pressure leads to prolonged discomfort. Resistance increases fatigue, doubt, and frustration, making the choice more challenging over time. Responding by stepping away releases the burden. Peace, clarity, and renewed energy affirm that obedience aligns with God's plan and protection. Conflict within your conscience grows when staying misaligns with purpose. You may feel torn between loyalty and truth, comfort and growth. God allows this inner tension to develop so you can recognize what no longer serves your path. It acts as a moral compass guiding toward obedience. The longer you resist, the more exhausting the conflict becomes. It drains emotional, mental, and spiritual energy. Walking away resolves the tension. Inner peace returns and clarity confirms the wisdom of following God's direction rather than clinging to what is familiar. Signs of stagnation appear when God wants you to move. Growth slows, progress stalls, and motivation fades. You may feel trapped or frustrated. God uses stagnation to highlight areas that need change. When progress stops despite effort, He is prompting reflection and action. Ignoring stagnation prolongs dissatisfaction. Your spirit feels heavy as potential remains unfulfilled. God's call is protective, guiding you toward a productive path. Acting on the call restores momentum. Walking away opens space for growth, aligning your actions with divine purpose and blessing. God often tests readiness through discomfort. Daily tasks may feel heavier, patience runs thin, and energy levels drop. These are subtle cues to examine your alignment. Spiritual discomfort is intentional. It signals that something in your life is out of sync with God's plan. Your heart is already aware before your mind accepts it. Ignoring these signs prolongs struggle. Effort becomes draining and stress grows. God allows discomfort to guide you, not punish you. Responding by stepping away restores equilibrium. Energy, focus, and peace return, confirming that obedience leads to spiritual alignment. Unexpected obstacles emerge to redirect your path. Plans that once seemed secure may fail suddenly, leaving uncertainty in their place. God uses these interruptions to protect and guide you. What appears as frustration is divine prevention, steering you away from harmful or unproductive paths. Resistance often intensifies when obstacles appear. You may feel compelled to force outcomes, but this only prolongs struggle. God's timing ensures alignment. Embracing the disruption and walking away allows new opportunities to surface. Peace, clarity, and growth follow obedience. Sudden insight may occur in moments of prayer or reflection. A realization hits, showing the truth of your situation. This clarity is a divine gift. God delivers insight to confirm the need for change. The understanding may be immediate or gradual, but always points toward alignment. Ignoring insight creates ongoing confusion. Doubt overshadows clarity, and fear can dominate decision-making. God's voice is quiet but firm. Responding with action restores direction. Walking away becomes a choice guided by understanding, peace, and divine confirmation. Discomfort in relationships signals divine guidance. You may feel tension, miscommunication, or misalignment with others. This is a call to examine the connection. God highlights situations where relationships no longer serve growth. Emotional stress indicates a misalignment of purpose, values, or direction. Continuing without response deepens conflict. The longer you remain, the more energy is drained and spiritual clarity is compromised. Stepping away restores harmony. Relationships that remain aligned become supportive, and spiritual and emotional energy is renewed. God often removes what seems essential to reveal what is truly necessary. You may feel loss, absence, or emptiness as familiar elements fade. This removal is purposeful. It allows you to refocus on what aligns with your calling. Comfort is replaced by spiritual direction. Resisting change prolongs emptiness. You may try to cling to what is gone, but God's plan requires release. Obedience brings restoration. Walking away fills the void with clarity, peace, and alignment with God's intentions. Spiritual heaviness may appear when God calls you to move. You feel weighed down, fatigued, and burdened emotionally. This heaviness signals misalignment. God allows the pressure to encourage reflection and motivate change. Ignoring spiritual weight prolongs exhaustion. Energy is consumed by staying in the wrong place, preventing clarity and growth. Walking away lifts the burden. Peace, energy, and renewed purpose affirm obedience and alignment with divine guidance. Repetitive warnings appear as subtle nudges. You may notice recurring thoughts, conversations, or coincidences pointing toward change. God repeats messages to ensure they are recognized. The pattern cannot be ignored, revealing a need for decision and action. Delaying response increases discomfort and doubt. You may rationalize staying, but the repetition emphasizes God's directive. Obeying by walking away brings clarity and peace. Recognizing patterns and responding restores alignment and trust in God's plan. Fear of loss is common when God calls you to leave. You hesitate because of what might be missed. Fear tests your faith and obedience. God uses fear to strengthen reliance on Him. Courage grows when you act despite uncertainty. Fear highlights the cost of staying versus the blessing of obedience. Ignoring the call prolongs internal struggle. Anxiety and doubt increase, clouding discernment. The risk of staying becomes heavier than the cost of leaving. Walking away restores freedom and peace. God confirms each step, showing that trust in His guidance outweighs fear of change. When God is calling you to leave, peace disappears gradually. You may smile externally, but internally tension builds. Everyday routines feel heavy and uninspiring. This loss of peace is a signal from God. He uses discomfort to indicate misalignment. Remaining in a situation that no longer serves your purpose is spiritually draining. Ignoring the feeling prolongs anxiety and confusion. You may try to distract yourself, but your inner voice persists, urging attention to the call. Responding by walking away restores peace and clarity. God rewards obedience with renewed energy, emotional balance, and spiritual alignment. Confusion often follows comfort. You may feel trapped between loyalty and the need for change. Your mind rationalizes staying while your spirit whispers to leave. God allows this inner conflict to awaken awareness. He wants you to see what is no longer serving your spiritual and emotional growth. Ignoring the conflict leads to exhaustion. Your energy, faith, and clarity are depleted when you resist divine guidance. Walking away resolves tension. Peace and direction return, affirming that God's call is trustworthy and protective. God often signals through emotional depletion. You feel drained, hopeless, or numb, despite efforts to stay engaged. This is not weakness. It's a warning. Spiritual and emotional exhaustion often precede necessary change. God uses these signals to protect you from situations that no longer align with your purpose. Ignoring these signs creates deeper fatigue. You expend energy trying to maintain a path that is already closed, causing frustration and loss of joy. Obedience restores vitality. Walking away rejuvenates spirit, mind, and body, confirming that alignment with God brings freedom. Recurring tension in relationships signals misalignment. You may notice subtle conflicts repeating with the same individuals, creating emotional strain. God uses this tension to highlight areas that require action. Misaligned relationships can hinder growth and disrupt spiritual peace. Ignoring these signals allows frustration to build. Repeated conflict drains energy and clouds judgment, making clarity harder to achieve. Responding by stepping away restores harmony. Peace returns. Spiritual energy is renewed, and relationships that remain aligned thrive. Unexplained restlessness is another divine signal. You may feel an urge to move, change, or leave, even if life seems stable. God uses restlessness to prompt reflection and action. Comfort can trap the soul, while restlessness motivates obedience and growth. Ignoring restlessness prolongs dissatisfaction. The more you resist, the heavier the burden becomes, affecting both mind and spirit. Responding allows freedom and clarity. Walking away aligns your actions with God's plan, restoring peace and purpose. Sudden insight can guide you when clarity seems distant. A moment of understanding reveals the truth about your situation, often unexpectedly. God delivers insight to confirm the need for change. The awareness may arrive during prayer, meditation, or quiet reflection, pointing toward alignment. Ignoring insight prolongs confusion. Doubt may dominate decisions, but God's voice remains persistent, quietly urging obedience. Acting on insight restores direction. Walking away allows peace, clarity, and growth, affirming trust in divine guidance. Persistent fear can accompany the call to leave. You may worry about loss, failure, or the unknown. Fear challenges your faith and resolve. God uses fear to test obedience and build courage. Acting despite uncertainty strengthens reliance on Him and clarifies priorities. Ignoring the call due to fear leads to stagnation. Anxiety intensifies, delaying spiritual and emotional growth. Walking away demonstrates faith and obedience. Peace and confidence follow, confirming that trust in God outweighs fear. God often removes distractions to guide your focus. Situations, people, or routines that once brought comfort may feel hollow or irrelevant. This removal is purposeful. God clears the way to align your life with His plan. Comfort is replaced by divine direction, ensuring your energy is invested correctly. Resisting this guidance prolongs dissatisfaction. You may attempt to cling to what is gone, but spiritual awareness urges action. Walking away restores focus and purpose. Obedience opens the door to opportunities that align with your spiritual calling. Repeated obstacles are often divine warnings. The same challenges may appear in multiple areas of life despite your efforts. God uses repetition to clarify the need for change. Persistent difficulties act as gates, signaling that current paths may lead to stagnation or harm. Ignoring these signals prolongs frustration. Resistance increases fatigue and confusion, making spiritual guidance harder to hear. Obedience by stepping away restores momentum. Freedom, clarity, and alignment with God's purpose follow. Spiritual heaviness often intensifies before action is required. You may feel burdened, anxious, or mentally exhausted despite external stability. God allows spiritual weight to highlight misalignment. The tension is purposeful, signaling the need for a decisive step. Ignoring spiritual heaviness drains energy, delays clarity, and increases emotional fatigue. God's guidance seeks to protect, not punish. Walking away lifts the burden. Obedience restores balance, energy, and peace, confirming that God's direction is protective and purposeful. God often tests obedience through discomfort. You may feel tension, restlessness, or mental strain. This unease is a spiritual signal that something must change. Discomfort is not punishment, it is guidance. When you resist divine direction, your spirit grows heavy, urging reflection and action. Ignoring the discomfort prolongs struggle. Energy is wasted, clarity diminishes, and anxiety grows when you stay in misaligned situations. Walking away restores peace and focus. Obedience brings freedom, clarity, and alignment with God's perfect plan for your life. Repeated obstacles highlight misalignment. The same challenges appear over and over despite your effort as a warning from God. Persistence in the wrong place causes frustration. God allows obstacles to guide your discernment, showing that your current path is not aligned with His plan. Ignoring these signals creates prolonged stress. Resistance becomes heavier, and your faith may waver as confusion grows. Responding by stepping away clears the path. Peace, energy, and spiritual alignment return, confirming the wisdom of obedience. Loss of joy is a critical indicator. Activities, people, or routines that once brought happiness now feel dull or exhausting. God allows this emotional shift to reveal misalignment. Your heart recognizes the disconnect before your mind fully accepts it. Ignoring fading joy prolongs dissatisfaction. Effort becomes draining, and energy is consumed in maintaining what no longer serves your purpose. Walking away restores vitality. Peace, passion, and clarity return, affirming that following God's guidance brings reward, not loss. Inner conflict grows when staying is wrong. You feel pulled in different directions. One part clings to comfort, the other seeks freedom. God allows this tension to highlight misalignment. Spiritual unrest signals that your current path is not aligned with your purpose. Ignoring internal conflict drains energy and delays growth. The struggle consumes both faith and clarity. Responding by leaving restores inner balance. Obedience leads to freedom, peace, and renewed alignment with God's plan. God often removes false security to reveal true dependence on Him. What once felt safe may now feel unstable, prompting reflection. This removal encourages spiritual growth. Comfort can blind you to the need for change, while instability draws attention to divine guidance. Ignoring the signal prolongs stress. Energy is spent maintaining illusions of control rather than following God's direction. Walking away restores true security. Freedom, clarity, and alignment with purpose confirm that obedience is always protective and beneficial. Spiritual restlessness appears before divine shifts. You feel an urge to move, change, or act, even when life seems stable. God uses restlessness to push you toward obedience. Comfort can trap the spirit, but restlessness motivates growth. Ignoring restlessness prolongs dissatisfaction and inattention. Your energy becomes drained, and spiritual clarity diminishes. Responding to restlessness restores freedom and focus. Walking away aligns your actions with God's timing and plan. Sudden insight may illuminate the truth. A realization in a quiet moment reveals the necessity of change. God delivers clarity to guide decisions. Insight often appears through prayer, reflection, or intuition pointing toward action. Ignoring insight prolongs confusion. Doubt clouds judgment, while God's voice remains persistent, urging obedience. Acting on insight restores direction. Walking away creates peace, clarity, and spiritual alignment. Persistent fear accompanies the call to leave. Anxiety over loss, the unknown, or failure tests faith and courage. God uses fear to strengthen reliance on Him. Courage grows when action is taken despite uncertainty, reinforcing spiritual confidence. Ignoring the call increases anxiety and prolongs stagnation. Fear can overshadow clarity if divine direction is resisted. Walking away restores trust and confidence. Peace follows, confirming that faith in God surpasses fear of change. God often removes attachments that block growth. People, routines, or habits that once provided comfort may begin to feel hollow. This removal is intentional. God clears the way to align your life with His plan, replacing comfort with purpose. Resisting this change prolongs dissatisfaction. Clinging to what is gone prevents spiritual and emotional restoration. Walking away restores focus and direction. Obedience allows energy and attention to be invested in what truly aligns with your calling. Recurring challenges appear when change is necessary. The same problems may reemerge despite your efforts, signaling misalignment. God uses repeated difficulties to clarify the need for obedience. Persistent challenges highlight areas that require stepping away. Ignoring these signals increases frustration. Energy is wasted, and spiritual guidance becomes harder to discern. Walking away restores clarity and momentum. Peace and alignment follow, affirming the wisdom of listening to God's direction. Spiritual heaviness grows when God calls for action. Emotional, mental, and physical strain signals misalignment with His plan. This weight is purposeful. God allows it to awaken awareness and motivate necessary change. Ignoring heaviness prolongs exhaustion. Energy is drained, clarity is lost, and frustration grows when you resist divine guidance. Walking away lifts the burden. Freedom, peace, and alignment confirm that obedience brings restoration. Subtle warnings appear in moments of stillness. Thoughts, feelings, and events repeatedly point toward change. God uses repetition to ensure His guidance is noticed. Patterns in your life highlight areas that need correction or release. Ignoring these cues increases tension and prolongs discomfort. Spiritual clarity diminishes as resistance grows. Walking away restores balance. Obedience aligns your path with divine purpose, opening doors for growth and blessing. Loss of enthusiasm signals misalignment. Activities and responsibilities that once inspired now feel draining or meaningless. God allows this fading to prompt reflection. Your heart recognizes what no longer aligns before your mind does. Ignoring loss of passion prolongs dissatisfaction. Energy is spent maintaining the status quo rather than pursuing purpose. Walking away restores motivation. Peace, clarity, and spiritual energy confirm that God's guidance is protective and intentional. Conflict with others often signals the need to move. Repeated disagreements or tension highlight misalignment in relationships. God uses conflict to clarify boundaries and protect spiritual growth. Misaligned connections can drain energy and focus. Ignoring repeated conflict prolongs stress and delays clarity. Spiritual and emotional fatigue increases with continued resistance. Walking away restores harmony. Obedience brings peace, clarity, and relationships that align with your purpose. God often communicates through intuition. Subtle nudges, gut feelings, or sudden realizations point toward action. Ignoring intuition prolongs confusion. Rationalization may try to justify staying, but your spirit already knows the truth. Spiritual sensitivity sharpens when you listen. Intuition is God's compass, guiding toward alignment and protection. Walking away strengthens discernment. Clarity, confidence, and peace confirm obedience and divine guidance. Emotional numbness appears when spiritual alignment is lost. Life loses color and joy feels distant. God allows this to signal misalignment. Emotional detachment prompts reflection on what needs to change. Ignoring numbness prolongs dissatisfaction. Efforts to force engagement drain energy and clarity. Walking away restores emotional vitality. Obedience brings joy, energy, and alignment with God's purpose. Unexplained restlessness often signals divine guidance. You may feel compelled to change or move without knowing why. God uses restlessness to highlight misalignment. Comfort can trap you while internal urging motivates action. Ignoring restlessness prolongs dissatisfaction and tension. Spiritual energy is consumed, delaying clarity and growth. Walking away restores focus and freedom. Obedience aligns your life with divine timing and purpose. Sudden clarity may arrive after confusion. You see the truth of your situation with unexpected certainty. God delivers this clarity to confirm the need for change. Insight is often sudden, guiding toward alignment and obedience. Ignoring clarity prolongs doubt. Hesitation delays freedom and spiritual growth. Acting on divine insight restores peace. Walking away brings clarity, direction, and confirmation of God's guidance. Persistent fear often accompanies God's call. You worry about loss, failure, or the unknown. God uses fear to strengthen faith and courage. Acting despite fear grows spiritual confidence and reliance on Him. Ignoring fear prolongs stagnation. Anxiety increases, clouding judgment and delaying obedience. Walking away restores trust and peace. Obedience brings clarity and confidence in God's plan. Repeated emotional strain signals misalignment. Small frustrations or irritations appear consistently, creating tension. God uses these signals to awaken awareness. Discomfort grows until action is taken. Ignoring repeated strain prolongs fatigue and diminishes spiritual clarity. Resistance increases stress. Walking away restores peace and energy. Obedience aligns your actions with God's protective and purposeful plan. Loss of motivation is a sign that God wants change. Activities and responsibilities that once inspired now feel draining. God allows this to prompt reflection. When motivation fades, it signals misalignment with purpose or divine calling. Ignoring loss of drive prolongs stagnation. Efforts to maintain the status quo drain energy and faith. Walking away restores motivation. Peace, clarity, and spiritual alignment confirm obedience to God's guidance. Spiritual disconnection may occur when God is redirecting your path. Prayer, meditation, and worship feel heavy or empty. God allows disconnection to show misalignment. When remaining hinders growth, He withdraws intimacy to guide movement. Ignoring disconnection prolongs frustration. Energy is wasted, and spiritual clarity diminishes while you resist. Walking away restores connection. Obedience brings peace, guidance, and alignment with divine purpose. Loss of trust in circumstances or people often accompanies God's call. Situations that once seemed reliable now feel unstable. God uses this to prompt reflection. Loss of trust highlights areas where misalignment exists. Ignoring signals of instability prolongs stress and confusion. Energy and faith are depleted trying to hold on to what is no longer secure. Walking away restores stability and trust. Obedience allows peace, clarity, and alignment with God's plan. God often highlights hidden motives. You may notice fear, dependency, or control influencing your decisions. Recognition of hidden motives can be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. God allows awareness to guide action. Ignoring these signs prolongs attachment to unhealthy patterns. Spiritual and emotional strain increases. Walking away restores freedom. Obedience aligns your choices with purpose, bringing clarity and peace. Divine timing becomes apparent when repeated signals, obstacles, or insights align. Patterns emerge, confirming the call to move. God orchestrates circumstances to highlight the need for change. Repetition ensures understanding and reduces doubt. Ignoring timing prolongs struggle. Resistance leads to exhaustion, confusion, and delayed growth. Walking away in alignment with divine timing restores peace and momentum. Obedience ensures that freedom and clarity follow, confirming God's guidance. God often creates a sense of urgency when it's time to leave. You feel compelled to act, even if nothing externally demands change. This inner prompting is a signal. God uses urgency to prevent prolonged misalignment and protect your future. Ignoring the feeling delays freedom. Resistance strengthens, and the stress on your spirit grows heavier over time. Walking away restores peace and clarity. Obedience ensures that every step aligns with God's timing and purpose. Subtle unease may appear in your daily routines. Activities that once felt simple now carry hidden stress. God uses discomfort in the mundane to highlight misalignment. Even small disturbances serve as divine guidance. Ignoring these signals prolongs tension. Your energy is consumed by tasks that no longer bring growth or peace. Walking away from what no longer serves brings relief. Peace and spiritual alignment confirm the wisdom of obedience. Recurring distractions often indicate divine guidance. The same interruptions, thoughts, or obstacles appear repeatedly. God uses repetition to ensure His message is heard. The pattern points toward a necessary change in direction. Ignoring repeated signals increases frustration and confusion. Energy is wasted trying to maintain what is no longer aligned. Responding restores momentum and clarity. Walking away allows growth, peace, and alignment with God's plan. Loss of passion can signal God's call. Activities, people, or situations that once inspired now feel empty or draining. God allows this to reveal misalignment. Your heart senses truth before your mind fully comprehends it. Ignoring fading passion prolongs stagnation. Effort becomes tiring, and spiritual energy is consumed unnecessarily. Walking away restores vitality. Peace, focus, and renewed purpose affirm that obedience aligns with God's guidance. Spiritual and emotional heaviness often precedes action. You feel drained, burdened, or mentally exhausted. God allows this weight to signal misalignment. Pressure is purposeful, designed to awaken awareness and motivate change. Ignoring heaviness prolongs fatigue. Energy and clarity are depleted as resistance grows stronger. Walking away lifts the burden. Obedience restores freedom, balance, and alignment with God's plan. Unexpected setbacks are often divine prompts. Plans may fail, doors close, or opportunities disappear suddenly. God orchestrates interruptions to redirect your path. What seems frustrating is often protective, guiding you away from misalignment. Ignoring setbacks increases tension and stress. Resistance prolongs confusion and delays spiritual growth. Walking away allows new opportunities to emerge. Obedience brings peace, clarity, and alignment with purpose. Clarity often comes after repeated struggle. You may finally see the truth of your situation with unexpected certainty. God delivers clarity to confirm the need for change. Insight often occurs during prayer, reflection, or quiet observation. Ignoring clarity prolongs doubt. Hesitation delays freedom and spiritual progress, increasing internal conflict. Walking away restores direction and peace. Obedience ensures your steps are aligned with God's plan. Persistent fear may accompany God's call. You worry about the unknown, loss or failure, testing your faith and courage. God uses fear to strengthen reliance on Him. Acting despite fear builds spiritual confidence and discernment. Ignoring fear prolongs stagnation. Anxiety clouds judgment and delays obedience, preventing growth. Walking away restores trust and peace. Obedience brings confidence and clarity, confirming God's protective guidance. Loss of trust in people or situations signals divine guidance. What once felt reliable may now feel uncertain or unstable. God uses this loss to highlight areas of misalignment. Recognizing instability encourages reflection and necessary change. Ignoring the warning prolongs stress and anxiety. Energy is wasted attempting to control outcomes that are no longer secure. Walking away restores trust and balance. Obedience allows clarity, peace, and alignment with God's plan. Hidden motives may surface as God prepares you to move. Fear, control, or dependency becomes visible in your actions or relationships. God exposes these motives to reveal what is misaligned with your purpose. Awareness is the first step toward change. Ignoring hidden motives prolongs attachment to unhealthy patterns, draining energy and clarity. Walking away restores freedom. Obedience brings peace, discernment, and alignment with God's intended path. God often allows repeated disappointment to guide your decision. You may invest effort, love, or energy into something only to be met with failure again and again. This pattern is not random. It is a divine warning. Repeated setbacks are God's way of protecting you. He wants you to realize that your current path is not leading to fulfillment. Even when you feel capable of forcing results, persistence may not bring the blessing you desire. Ignoring repeated disappointment prolongs emotional strain. You may convince yourself that perseverance is the answer, but your heart knows that the environment or situation is no longer serving you. This tension builds silently, draining joy and spiritual energy. When you choose to step away, the weight lifts gradually. Peace returns, opportunities align naturally, and clarity grows. God confirms the wisdom of obedience as your life shifts toward paths of growth and fulfillment. God often makes the wrong path feel heavy, while the right path feels lighter. Even if leaving seems uncertain, staying increasingly becomes a struggle. The heaviness is spiritual nudging, a call to examine your choices. The burden may manifest as mental fog, fatigue, or a persistent sense of dread. It is subtle, but over time it becomes undeniable. God uses these signals to make sure you do not ignore the truth. Ignoring heaviness prolongs pain. Each day spent resisting the call drains your spiritual, emotional, and physical resources. The weight accumulates, and your heart struggles under the tension of indecision. Walking away restores balance. Your energy returns, joy reappears, and clarity illuminates the path ahead. Obedience turns the heaviness into freedom, revealing God's plan in its full purpose. God may create moments of reflection that bring unexpected clarity. You might pause during prayer, meditation, or even in silence, and suddenly recognize what is wrong in your life. These moments are divine interventions. God uses reflection to reveal what no longer serves your growth and to highlight the need for change. The heart often perceives truth before the mind can articulate it. Ignoring this clarity creates confusion. Rationalization, doubt, and fear keep you tethered to the wrong environment. You expend energy fighting a current that is designed to redirect you. Walking away allows the insight to manifest fully. The fog lifts, Decisions become easier, and spiritual peace returns. God confirms that clarity paired with action brings freedom and blessing. Emotional numbness often signals divine intervention. You may continue your life, yet find joy and excitement slowly slipping away. What once felt alive now feels empty and distant. God allows this detachment to awaken awareness. Your spirit recognizes misalignment before your mind can understand it. The loss of emotional connection is a prompt to reassess priorities and relationships. Ignoring emotional numbness prolongs stagnation. Energy is consumed maintaining appearances or continuing patterns that drain rather than nurture your spirit. Spiritual and mental fatigue grow as you resist change. Walking away restores emotional vitality. Joy, enthusiasm, and engagement return naturally. Obedience restores connection to purpose, to God, and to the life He intends for you. Persistent restlessness often precedes action. Even when life seems stable, you feel a pull to change or move. An inner urging that cannot be ignored. God uses restlessness to awaken spiritual awareness. Comfort can trap you, but the inner tension motivates you to step into alignment with His plan. Ignoring restlessness prolongs dissatisfaction. Anxiety and discontent grow as your spirit pushes for necessary movement. And the longer you resist, the heavier the burden becomes. Walking away restores freedom and focus. Peace flows back, spiritual clarity returns, and your steps align with God's timing and purpose, confirming His guidance in every way. God often allows unexpected closure to guide your path. Doors you expected to remain open may close suddenly, opportunities may vanish, and familiar routines may collapse. This is not a punishment. God closes what no longer aligns with His plan to redirect you toward new paths, protecting your growth and spiritual health. Ignoring closure leads to frustration and resistance. Fighting to reopen closed doors keeps you stuck, prolonging uncertainty and emotional strain. Stepping away embraces divine redirection. Peace returns. Doors of opportunity open naturally. And God confirms that His timing is perfect, leading to fulfillment and spiritual alignment. God often communicates through subtle intuition. You may feel a quiet nudge, a persistent thought, or a gut feeling that something needs to change. Intuition is God's compass, directing your actions toward alignment and away from harm. Even when logic argues against it, your spirit often senses truth before your mind does. Ignoring intuition prolongs confusion. Rationalization attempts to justify staying, but dissonance grows internally, causing stress and indecision. Walking away strengthens spiritual sensitivity. Peace, clarity, and confidence return as obedience confirms your alignment with God's purpose. Spiritual and emotional heaviness may grow over time. Small frustrations accumulate, stress increases, and your spirit begins to feel burdened. God uses this heaviness to indicate misalignment. The weight is purposeful, urging reflection and action before the strain becomes too great. Ignoring the heaviness prolongs fatigue and dissatisfaction. Energy is wasted resisting a path that no longer serves your growth or spiritual alignment. Walking away lifts the weight. Obedience restores balance, focus, and peace, confirming that God's guidance was intended to protect and direct your life. Fear often accompanies God's call to move. You may worry about loss, failure, or uncertainty, even when your spirit whispers to leave. God uses fear to test faith and strengthen courage. Acting despite fear builds resilience, confidence, and deeper spiritual trust. Ignoring fear prolongs stagnation. Anxiety clouds judgment and delays movement, preventing growth and alignment with God's purpose. Walking away restores trust and peace. Obedience builds confidence and confirms that faith outweighs fear, leading to spiritual and emotional restoration. Repeated conflicts often signal divine guidance. You may notice tension with people, situations, or routines that create stress and exhaustion. God uses conflict to highlight misalignment. Persistent friction indicates the need for boundaries, reflection, and change. Ignoring conflict prolongs emotional fatigue and drains spiritual energy. Continued resistance intensifies stress, making clarity harder to achieve. Walking away restores peace. Obedience allows harmony to return, relationships to reset, and your spiritual path to align with God's purpose. Loss of passion can indicate that change is needed. Activities or environments that once inspired now feel lifeless or exhausting. God allows this shift to awaken awareness. The heart senses what the mind may not yet comprehend. Misalignment with divine purpose. Ignoring loss of passion prolongs stagnation. Energy is wasted maintaining situations that no longer nurture growth or fulfillment. Walking away restores vitality. Peace, focus, and renewed purpose flow naturally, confirming that God's guidance leads to blessing. Repeated obstacles often appear as warnings. Challenges that recur despite effort indicate that your current path may not serve God's plan. God uses these obstacles to awaken discernment. They are signs meant to protect you and guide you toward alignment. Ignoring obstacles prolongs frustration. Resistance drains energy, creates confusion, and delays spiritual and emotional growth. Walking away restores momentum. Peace, clarity, and purpose return, confirming obedience and trust in divine guidance. Spiritual disconnection can be subtle but powerful. Prayer may feel heavy, meditation empty, or worship uninspiring. God allows this detachment to signal misalignment. When staying in a situation hinders spiritual growth, distance encourages movement. Ignoring disconnection prolongs discomfort. Energy is wasted, clarity diminishes, and frustration grows when divine guidance is resisted. Walking away restores connection. Obedience brings peace, spiritual renewal, and alignment with God's intended path. Unexpected restlessness often accompanies divine guidance. You feel the urge to move or change without logical reason. God uses restlessness to alert you to misalignment. Comfort may feel safe, but your spirit is seeking growth and alignment. Ignoring restlessness prolongs dissatisfaction. Internal tension grows, draining energy and clarity. Walking away restores focus and freedom. Obedience brings peace, purpose, and alignment with God's timing. Clarity often arrives suddenly after persistent uncertainty. A moment of insight reveals the truth about your situation. God delivers this clarity as confirmation. Insight may come in prayer, reflection, or quiet thought, directing you toward necessary action. Ignoring clarity prolongs doubt and confusion. Hesitation delays freedom and spiritual progress. Walking away restores direction and peace. Obedience aligns your steps with divine purpose, confirming God's guidance. Loss of trust may indicate a call to move. People, situations, or routines that once seemed reliable may now feel uncertain. God uses this to prompt reflection. Recognizing instability encourages necessary change in alignment with purpose. Ignoring the signal prolongs stress and anxiety. Energy is wasted trying to maintain what is no longer secure. Walking away restores trust and clarity. Obedience ensures peace and alignment with God's plan. God often exposes hidden motives to prepare you for change. Fear, control, or dependency may surface in decisions or relationships. Awareness of hidden motives is essential for growth. God allows insight to guide your steps and reveal areas requiring action. Ignoring these motives prolongs attachment to unhealthy patterns, draining energy and spiritual clarity. Walking away restores freedom and purpose. Obedience aligns choices with God's plan, bringing peace and discernment. Divine timing becomes apparent through repeated signals. Obstacles, insights, or nudges align, creating a pattern that points toward change. God orchestrates circumstances to confirm the call. Repetition ensures the message is heard and reduces doubt. Ignoring timing prolongs struggle. Resistance delays growth, clarity, and alignment with divine purpose. Walking away in alignment restores momentum. Peace, freedom, and spiritual clarity confirm that God's timing is perfect. Spiritual heaviness often signals imminent change. You may feel mentally or emotionally drained, even while life seems normal externally. God uses heaviness to awaken awareness and prompt reflection. It indicates misalignment with His plan. Ignoring spiritual heaviness prolongs exhaustion. Energy and clarity are consumed, resisting divine guidance. Walking away lifts the burden. Obedience restores balance, peace, and spiritual alignment. Fear frequently arises when God calls you to leave. You may worry about loss, uncertainty, or failure, challenging faith and courage. God uses fear to strengthen trust and build courage. Acting despite uncertainty confirms reliance on Him. Ignoring fear prolongs stagnation. Anxiety clouds judgment and delays movement toward purpose. Walking away restores confidence. Obedience brings peace, clarity, and trust in God's timing. Repeated conflict signals the need to move. Tension with people or situations highlights misalignment with purpose or values. God uses conflict to illuminate areas requiring change. Persistent friction protects your spiritual growth. Ignoring conflict prolongs stress and drains energy. Continued resistance increases frustration and mental fatigue. Walking away restores harmony. Obedience allows clarity, peace, and alignment with God's plan. Loss of motivation signals the need for change. Responsibilities or routines that once inspired now feel draining or meaningless. God allows this loss to awaken awareness. The heart senses misalignment before the mind can fully comprehend it. Ignoring fading motivation prolongs stagnation. Energy is wasted maintaining what no longer serves growth or purpose. Walking away restores vitality. Peace, focus, and spiritual clarity confirm obedience and alignment with God's plan. Spiritual disconnection often signals misalignment. Prayer, meditation, and worship may feel heavy or unrewarding. God allows this detachment to prompt reflection. Distance is a tool to awaken awareness and encourage action. Ignoring disconnection prolongs discomfort. Energy is wasted and spiritual clarity diminishes while resistance persists. Walking away restores connection. Obedience brings spiritual renewal, peace, and alignment with purpose. Repeated challenges highlight the need for action. Problems that recur despite efforts signal misalignment with God's plan. God uses repetition to awaken discernment. Challenges act as guides, showing where change is necessary. Ignoring challenges prolongs frustration. Resistance drains energy and delays spiritual growth. Walking away restores momentum. Peace, clarity, and alignment follow, confirming that obedience brings blessing. Loss of emotional joy is a clear indicator. Life feels hollow, and what once inspired now feels empty or exhausting. God allows this emotional shift to highlight misalignment. Your heart senses the truth before your mind fully processes it. Ignoring loss prolongs dissatisfaction. Energy is spent maintaining situations that no longer nurture growth or alignment. Walking away restores vitality. Peace, clarity, and renewed purpose confirm that obedience aligns with God's plan. God often signals through growing dissatisfaction. You may feel bored, trapped, or disconnected, even when life appears fine externally. This dissatisfaction is purposeful. God uses it to prompt reflection and to indicate misalignment with your spiritual path. Ignoring this feeling prolongs stagnation. Energy is drained as you force engagement in situations that no longer serve growth or purpose. Walking away restores clarity. Peace, focus, and renewed motivation confirm that obedience aligns with God's perfect plan. Persistent restlessness can't be ignored. Even in comfortable routines, you feel an inner push to change, move, or leave. God uses restlessness as a guide. Comfort can trap the spirit, while inattention motivates you to act in alignment with His plan. Ignoring restlessness prolongs dissatisfaction and mental strain. Anxiety and discontent grow until the call is acknowledged. Walking away restores peace and freedom. Obedience strengthens trust, clarity, and alignment with divine purpose. God often creates moments of sudden clarity. A thought, prayer, or quiet reflection reveals truth you hadn't seen before. These insights confirm misalignment. God uses moments of clarity to prompt decisive action and prevent prolonged struggle. Ignoring clarity prolongs doubt and indecision. Resistance keeps you tethered to what no longer serves spiritual and emotional growth. Walking away restores direction. Peace, energy, and confidence return, confirming the wisdom of obedience. Emotional numbness signals divine guidance. Joy, excitement, or inspiration may feel distant despite external stability. God allows this numbness to awaken awareness. Your heart recognizes misalignment before the mind can fully understand it. Ignoring numbness prolongs fatigue and stagnation. Energy is wasted on activities, people, or routines that drain rather than nurture. Walking away restores vitality. Obedience brings joy, clarity, and alignment with God's intended purpose. Fear often accompanies God's call. You may feel anxiety about loss, uncertainty, or failure, even when your heart urges action. God uses fear to strengthen faith. Courage grows when action is taken despite uncertainty, deepening trust in His guidance. Ignoring fear prolongs stagnation. Anxiety clouds judgment, delaying freedom and spiritual growth. Walking away restores confidence. Peace, clarity, and alignment confirm that faith in God outweighs fear of change. Recurring conflict signals misalignment. Tension with people, places, or routines creates stress and mental strain. God uses conflict to illuminate boundaries and protect spiritual growth. Persistent friction highlights areas that need action. Ignoring conflict prolongs emotional fatigue. Resistance drains energy and clouds clarity, making spiritual discernment difficult. Walking away restores harmony. Peace, balance, and alignment with God's plan return naturally, confirming obedience. Loss of passion is a critical signal. Activities, routines, or relationships that once inspired now feel empty or burdensome. God allows passion to fade, to reveal misalignment. Your heart recognizes when a path no longer serves your purpose. Ignoring fading passion prolongs dissatisfaction. Energy is wasted maintaining what no longer nurtures growth or spiritual alignment. Walking away restores motivation. Peace, clarity, and renewed purpose confirm God's guidance is protective and intentional. Repeated setbacks are often divine signals. Challenges that reoccur despite your best efforts indicate misalignment with your spiritual path. God uses these obstacles to awaken discernment. Repetition ensures you notice patterns and take action before damage accumulates. Ignoring repeated setbacks prolongs struggle. Frustration, doubt, and fatigue intensify, making obedience more difficult. Walking away restores momentum. Clarity, peace, and alignment follow, confirming that obedience brings blessings and spiritual growth. Spiritual disconnection may appear subtly. Prayer, meditation, or worship feels heavy, empty, or unrewarding. God allows this disconnection to awaken awareness. When staying in a situation hinders growth, distance encourages reflection and action. Ignoring disconnection prolongs fatigue and dissatisfaction. Energy is drained while spiritual clarity diminishes. Walking away restores connection. Peace, guidance, and alignment return as obedience opens the way for growth. Unexpected closure often signals divine guidance. Doors may close, opportunities disappear, and routines shift unexpectedly. God uses closure to redirect your path. What seems frustrating is often protective, guiding you toward alignment and growth. Ignoring closure prolongs stress and resistance. Attempting to reopen closed doors keeps you stuck in misalignment. Walking away allows new doors to open. Peace, clarity, and divine timing confirm God's protective plan. Intuition often guides you when words cannot. A subtle nudge, a gut feeling, or a persistent thought can point toward change. God uses intuition to direct your steps toward alignment and protection. Even when logic resists, your spirit knows the truth. Ignoring intuition prolongs confusion. Rationalization may justify staying, but dissonance grows internally. Walking away strengthens spiritual sensitivity. Clarity, peace, and confidence confirm God's direction in your life. Spiritual heaviness often signals imminent change. Mental, emotional, or physical strain arises when your current path is misaligned. God uses heaviness to awaken reflection and motivate action. The weight is purposeful, urging a shift before further damage occurs. Ignoring spiritual heaviness prolongs fatigue. Energy and clarity are consumed, resisting God's guidance, creating more stress. Walking away lifts the burden. Peace, balance, and alignment return, confirming that obedience protects and restores. Fear frequently accompanies God's call to move. Anxiety about loss, uncertainty, or failure may challenge your faith and courage. God uses fear to deepen trust. Acting despite uncertainty strengthens spiritual resilience and reliance on divine guidance. Ignoring fear prolongs stagnation. Anxiety clouds judgment, delaying movement toward purpose and clarity. Walking away restores trust. Peace, confidence, and alignment confirm that faith outweighs fear of the unknown. Repeated conflict signals the need to act. Tension with people or situations highlights misalignment and spiritual unrest. God uses conflict to illuminate areas requiring change. Persistent friction protects your growth and spiritual well-being. Ignoring conflict prolongs emotional strain. Resistance drains energy and clouds discernment, making obedience harder. Walking away restores harmony. Peace, clarity, and alignment return, confirming that God's guidance is protective. Loss of motivation signals divine prompting. Activities, routines, or environments that once inspired now feel exhausting. God allows motivation to fade to awaken awareness. Your heart senses misalignment before your mind can articulate it. Ignoring loss of drive prolongs stagnation. Energy is wasted maintaining situations that no longer serve spiritual growth. Walking away restores vitality. Peace, focus, and renewed purpose confirm obedience and alignment with God's plan. Spiritual disconnection may grow subtly. Prayer, meditation, or worship feels heavy, empty, or unrewarding. God allows disconnection to prompt reflection. Distance encourages awareness and necessary action. Ignoring disconnection prolongs dissatisfaction. Energy is drained, clarity diminishes, and frustration grows. Walking away restores connection. Peace, guidance, and alignment return as obedience brings growth and restoration. Patterns of repeated challenges often indicate misalignment. Problems that recur despite effort are divine prompts. God uses repetition to awaken discernment. Persistent difficulties signal that your path requires change. Ignoring repeated challenges prolongs frustration. Resistance drains energy and delays spiritual growth. Walking away restores momentum. Peace, clarity, and alignment confirm that obedience brings blessing and guidance. Loss of emotional joy is a clear sign. Life feels hollow and experiences that once brought happiness now feel empty. God allows this shift to awaken awareness. The heart recognizes misalignment before the mind can fully process it. Ignoring loss prolongs dissatisfaction. Energy is consumed maintaining situations that no longer nurture growth. Walking away restores vitality. Peace, clarity, and purpose return, confirming that obedience aligns with God's plan. Persistent restlessness often accompanies divine guidance. Even in stable circumstances, you feel a pull to change. God uses restlessness to awaken awareness. Comfort may feel safe, but inattention motivates growth and alignment with purpose. Ignoring restlessness prolongs discontent. Mental strain and dissatisfaction accumulate as the call persists. Walking away restores peace and clarity. Obedience strengthens faith, focus, and alignment with God's plan. God often creates sudden clarity after prolonged confusion. Moments of insight illuminate the truth about your situation. Divine clarity confirms the need for change. It may appear during prayer, meditation, or quiet reflection, guiding you toward obedience. Ignoring clarity prolongs doubt and stagnation. Hesitation delays freedom and spiritual growth. Walking away restores direction and peace. Obedience aligns your actions with divine purpose, confirming God's guidance and protection. God often removes what feels familiar to redirect you toward growth. People, routines, or environments that once provided comfort may suddenly feel empty or restrictive. This removal is deliberate. God clears space in your life to make room for alignment, purpose, and blessings you cannot yet see. Ignoring the loss prolongs frustration. Clinging to what no longer serves drains energy, clouds judgment, and keeps you tethered to stagnation. Walking away restores freedom. Peace, focus, and renewed spiritual vitality confirm that God's guidance is both protective and purposeful. Repeated obstacles often appear to test obedience. Even after your best efforts, challenges reemerge, highlighting misalignment with your path. God uses these obstacles to awaken discernment. They are signs that certain situations or relationships are not intended for your growth. Ignoring these signs prolongs struggle. Frustration and fatigue grow as resistance increases, keeping you trapped in ineffective patterns. Walking away restores momentum. Clarity, peace, and divine alignment emerge, confirming that obedience to God always brings reward. Spiritual heaviness often grows unnoticed until it becomes overwhelming. Mental strain, emotional tension, and inner unrest may increase without explanation. God allows this heaviness to guide reflection. It signals misalignment and encourages action before the strain becomes too great. Ignoring the heaviness prolongs suffering. Energy is drained maintaining the status quo, and spiritual clarity diminishes as resistance grows. Walking away restores balance. Freedom, peace, and renewed spiritual clarity confirm that God's direction protects and restores your life. Loss of joy and enthusiasm can signal divine guidance. Activities or relationships that once inspired now feel empty, and motivation fades. God uses this fading to highlight misalignment. Your heart senses the need for change even before your mind fully understands it. Ignoring this loss prolongs dissatisfaction. Energy is wasted maintaining connections or routines that no longer nurture spiritual or personal growth. Walking away restores vitality. Peace, clarity, and renewed purpose confirm that obedience aligns your life with God's plan. God often delivers subtle signs through intuition and inner nudges. A thought, gut feeling, or persistent reflection may point toward leaving. Intuition is a divine compass. God uses it to guide your actions toward alignment, protection, and spiritual growth. Ignoring intuition prolongs confusion. Rationalization or fear may try to convince you to stay, but dissonance grows internally, creating strain. Walking away restores peace and clarity. Obedience strengthens discernment, confirms God's guidance, and aligns your life with purpose and divine timing. All throughout life, God speaks in whispers, nudges, and signs. He communicates through feelings, patterns, obstacles, and inner clarity. When you notice restlessness, loss of joy, repeated conflict, or persistent heaviness, these are not coincidences. They are divine messages. God is guiding you away from what no longer serves your growth and toward what aligns with your purpose. Every obstacle, every moment of fear, and every fading passion is a test of obedience and trust. Walking away is never easy, but it is often necessary. When you respond to these signals, peace begins to replace anxiety, clarity replaces confusion, and freedom replaces spiritual heaviness. You begin to move in alignment with God's perfect timing and plan for your life. Ignoring these signs keeps you tethered to stagnation, frustration, and misalignment. Energy is wasted, joy fades, and spiritual growth stalls. But when you listen, act, and step away from what no longer serves. Every step becomes a movement toward restoration. God's guidance is protective, intentional, and always leading toward blessing, not loss. Remember, walking away is not a rejection of life. It is an acceptance of God's plan. It is an act of courage, faith, and trust. When you leave behind what hinders your spirit, you open space for clarity, purpose, and unexpected breakthroughs. Peace floods your heart, your vision sharpens, and your soul aligns with divine purpose. God is not punishing you with change. He is guiding you toward freedom, growth, and your ultimate destiny. Trust His voice. Obey the signs. Step away when He tells you to. And watch how life begins to unfold in alignment with His perfect plan. Every step you take in obedience brings you closer to peace, clarity, and the blessings He has reserved for you.